Welcome back. In this video, we are going to discuss the college application process and look at an example. So, this slide is going to go through the different steps that you're going to take to apply. And let's assume that you are a senior in high school and that you have already chosen a few different schools that you want to apply to. So the first step is to choose those schools and know whose applications you're completing, and then to find their deadlines and their requirements. The thing about application deadlines is that they're very, very strict. So you absolutely 100% need to submit your application before the deadline if you want to be considered for admission. In fact, you will not be able to submit an application late. And then the other piece of this is that most applications will stop you, and it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to submit them if you don't have all of the requirements. So knowing what the requirements are and when those applications are due is your very first step after choosing the schools that you're going to apply to. The second step is to make sure that you've taken all of the required high school courses to apply to those schools. This is most likely, if you're applying to any liberal arts colleges, universities, any four-year schools, that you've taken all of the A to G courses, particularly if you're applying to California colleges. Though I would say that most other states have college requirements very similar to the A to G courses, which we will talk about in the next video. So you will probably see that one of the requirements of these applications is having all of the required coursework. Now, if you're in the first half of your senior year and you're realizing you're missing a class but you still want to apply, don't worry. What that means is that you need to start taking that class and finishing that class, or in some classes, during your senior year. The classes that you take during your senior year will count towards your application even though you haven't completed them yet. So if you realize that you're missing a class, you just need to add it right away and then put on your application that you are in the process of taking that course. Step 3 is possibly to take the SAT. I say maybe on this because as of now, the SAT is no longer a requirement for colleges and universities. Maybe a couple private colleges are still looking at them, but public schools in California are not. So a lot of people are opting out of taking the SAT. My recommendation is that if your school offers it for free as part of the SAT school day, that you should take it. If you do well on the SAT, it can only help you. If you don't do well, you don't have to report it, but as maybe unappeasing as taking a big long test is, it is a very good life skill, and I would still encourage you to take it if you can. Step 4 is to fill out the FAFSA. The FAFSA is all about financial aid, and there will be many videos to come about the FAFSA and the financial aid process, but I want you to hear it as many times as possible that filling out the FAFSA is essential. You really, really need to do this. More on that in coming videos. Step 5 is to complete all of the application elements. So this is the part where we actually are working on the application. Your application could include letters of recommendation. It could include personal statements or personal essays. There are usually tables where you're going to insert all of your extracurricular and work experience and community service that you've documented. This is a good time to note that if you are doing community service, you should be tracking how many hours you're completing. And in fact, there are really nice templates where you can track and process all of your extracurriculars, your work experience, and community service in one place, so that when you go and you do your college application, you don't have to be racking your brain for how many community service hours did I do? What extracurriculars was I a part of? You'll have it all in one nice table to reference. You will probably also need your transcripts, and you will need to input all of the classes that you've taken and the grades you got on those classes. And my etc. piece is you're also going to have to include a lot of personal information, even things as simple as your name, your address, your parents' education level, things like that. So completing an application to a college or university is not something that you do in one sitting. It often requires many, many hours. The good news is that a lot of colleges share the same application application. So if you're applying to any of the CSUs, it's one application for all schools. If you're applying to any of the UCs, it's one application for all schools. Even a lot of the private schools use the Common App, which is one application that you can send to many different private colleges or universities. So that's good, but it will still take you a lot of time to put all of these pieces together. Step 6 is to submit all required documentation online, to apply for scholarships, and to check your email regularly. I cannot stress step 6 enough. There is going to be a lot of follow-up, particularly if you've been admitted to these schools, but oftentimes these schools are going to reach out and ask for extra documentation. They're going to want to see copies of your transcripts, things like that. They're going to want you to verify different information. You need to check your email regularly, and by regularly I mean every day, and you're going to probably need to create portals or like website logins for these different schools. So it's a lot of information and a lot of correspondence to stay up to date on. So you just need to be really diligent about following up on the process. Okay, so for your next assignment, you're going to choose 2 schools that you want to apply to. You've probably done some research on that by this point, and you're going to create a table of application requirements for each school. You're going to list everything you need to apply to that school on the table and include your application deadlines. If you can do this before the applications open, you're going to be setting yourself up really well to know exactly what you need to do and to stay on target so that this process doesn't become overwhelming. It is a lot of work and it's very time consuming to complete these processes, and I don't want to underestimate that. I want you to make sure that you're going in feeling well prepared, that you've created time and space in your schedule to go through this process, because it isn't easy. And also please know that you should be reaching out to your counselor or to your teachers, maybe your parents, older siblings that have gone to college. You should be asking for help. You can even contact the school's admissions offices themselves to ask for help. This is not something you're expected to do on your own. It takes a group effort. Applying to college is a really big deal, and it's something you should be really proud of and that you should put a lot of effort in, and that's how you're going to see the most reward. All right, thanks, and see you next time.